Greetings, I'm Michael Mike Shatwriter, and today we'll be covering the 2025 anniversary ship, which will be the Garret Commander Alliance Dreadnought cruiser. And this is budget builds on some more additional thoughts, and well, it's not Section 31 this time. Well, it's Alliance Stream, so it's not even fully Federation. So the Garret Commander Alliance Dreadnought cruiser was released on 11th of February 2025 on PC. It will be released on console at a later date. This is the 15th anniversary ship and the 5th Alliance ship available in game. As with all Alliance ships, it contains parts from multiple factions. As this ship is based on the Galaxy class and has quite a few elements of the Klingon design ships. Unlike most build videos at this time, when I get to this making the video, I've usually got to the ship at the time I'm making these videos, but this time I don't. Budget build rules 2024. So as my budget rules go, no additional C-store purchases are required or buying the cost to get the ship. In this case, it's you may need to spend a little bit of Zen to get the ship on PC, because when the day I release this is going to be very much on pretty much on the deadline. As logbox and lobby ships items require lockbox keys to obtain, they're excluded because lockbox keys require C-store purchase. Due to the fact that you can obtain free lobby from various campaigns, I won't be counting them as free due to if you don't have how not free it is. Well, my builds use a Day X build system, and the Day X is based on the approximate age of an active player with a level 65 character. Common drops usually can be crafted by any player that has and also has a chance to drop in any content. Most videos will contain multiple Day X builds, and these will be often made in a line of progression, and you will see a bit more about that later. Rule 5. Most builds will allow you to apply day 90 parts directly on top of day 1 builds if available. Items that are not considered common drops or repeatable mission rewards are considered expensive and should not be replaced in later Day X builds. Yeah. Item rank mods and rating does not need to match unless I've actually explicitly stated it. So this is more of a guide for newer players and not the ideal means to get tons of damage or tons of tanking or whatever. I'm not going to include any limited time event items to be counted, just even though they are technically free. They are technically free if you are doing a same event. So only a few times I will. But however, the 9A will basically, if I'm using it, if I'm obtaining an item during the same event, if I'm able to obtain the same item during the same event, I can get the ship. They are available to be used. For some builds, which this one doesn't apply for, some additional equipment slots will be noted, and that item may be shown in that spot as an option in its place. I may also include consoles in the universal slots for the tier 5X, tier 6X and tier 6X2 builds. And finally, rule 12. Occasionally I'll bend and break a rule on either above or what's coming up for the next few pages to bend it with good. But when I break these rules, I'll give it a good reason, and there will be a somewhat valid and understandable reason why I've broken that rule. I've only broken it a few times before, and one of them was with an old Jem'Hadar ship. Only because you could get, because I knew what you were building it with. So day one builds are those for just hit level 65 and want to fly the ship right now. Some mission rewards are going to be considered. For most builds, I'm going to treat the start of the Solanae Destined Sphere as the cut-off point. This is almost all items that I'll be showing will either be found as drops or crafted, or was in the episodes before Solanae Destined Sphere. Many items will be also available in exchange for a relatively low price. Because how easy you to get hold of it, most bridge officer powers will be limited to rank 1 or 2, and no specialization powers due to how relatively expensive it is to obtain them at that point. If certain prohibited items are known to be available for a character, for a certain build that I'm considering using, they can also be used. Day 14 or day 20. This is going to be the day 14, day 20 builds. Names change depending on how long the event is. And this only applies to event ships really, but with some day 14 and day 20 tweaks basically the day 1's rules, but with allowance for the extra 14 or 20 days to obtain the ship. This is effectively the same as a day 1 build, but with the following changes. All mission rewards can be now considered, as players can progress throughout the whole story during the event. Certain event items may be considered if that particular event is active and you can obtain that item. Right, so day 30 is basically collects them all together. Any equipment that I've already used in day 1, day 14 or day 20 builds can still be used. Day 30 is roughly the time where I expect a player to progress reputation to tier 5. It actually can be a bit later, a bit earlier. It's about 30 days, and I didn't want having some weird number, because it is actually on a weird number. Tier 5 of reputation will unlock most items within that reputation with the alt flavors, or the alternate weapon, some alternate things being locked until tier 6. Competitive is usually delayed due to difficulty to get into a competitive match, or the difficulty of completing a random TFO without having a good build on your ship already. So I've decided to push that back a bit. However, many event ships will also limit how you can get certain. Many event ships will have a weird thing about how to get certain marks during the event. So you may be able to get it during the event, get tier 5 competitive by day 30, or you might be able to get it a bit later, but I'm going to treat it as you always get it later. And as I said, well, if you have got all mission rewards by day 20, yes, all mission rewards are now going to be available again, for at least looking at. Day 60. Now, this is basically again. This is probably going to be something like weird, like day 74, something like that. Any equipment that I've obtained for day 30 builds can also be used. This is also roughly around the time when you can earn tier 6 in most reputations. I'm also going to mark this point where tier 5 for competitive is also obtained, due to the fact that I basically dropped it to day 30 when I started competitive. I've also decided to include rank 3 bridge officers for now available due to the fact that it's cheap. You can now probably spend them. You can now grab hold of the rank rank 3 counterparts relatively, well, not relatively cheaply, but you could probably afford them by now if you've been playing it for 2 months by now. And one specialization bridge officer outside of Mission World bridge officers can be considered as well. Day 90. Now this is usually this doesn't really apply to this video, but I'll quickly say, as always, if I've used it before, I can still use it here. Use it on day 90 after. If I can use anything that I used for day 60 on day 90. And all reputation gear can now be used because it's completely tier 6 competitive. I'm now going to allow fleet gear and advanced gear. Fleet gear also includes some advanced gear, so why include one half of the why not include some of the advanced gear, or why not include some of the fleet gear is another thing. I'm also starting to, so basically advanced gear such as the ice mags, and I've also decided to include the rank 15 and the gear which, such as the 360 beam rays, can also be used. However, other consoles from the and the gear can be also be done. There's also no limit on specialization bridge officers can be used if there is no, but it's usually 2. Well, that's. I've also usually has a thing at the end called paid considerations. These are items that I would love to include on a build, but these are from a C-Star ship or some previous event rewards, and I'll usually like to have a look at them, just get them, consider them for the gear. However, they will probably cost a bit when you use it. These items will be often considered useful for a build on even you know. Quite a few people consider using the will consider it better in slot than what I'm using instead, because I'm using it basically as a substitute for the build, not the actual item. These items won't usually be included into the build. Usually when I highlight or note a paid item, it usually will increase the effectiveness of some of the core ideas around the build I use it. I'll just plain boost it. These items will be something I would use if I was to fly the ship on a regular basis. So, ship comparison and initial thoughts. Okay, we've got 3, as we usually do. We get 3 ships that you'll be able to pick out. The Garret is on the left. The 2022 Sagan is in the middle, and the 2010, I think, Galaxy Expedition Retrofit Cruise. So T5U is on the right. I will also point out I've also included Tier 5 base stats, which you will, but due to the way that how T5 and T5U work, and I'll quickly cover them. The Garret is pretty much decent tool and decent shield mod. It's not as agile as the Sagan, but it's slightly more agile than the Galaxy. But yeah, the bridge officers, the captain and the Sagan look near identical. Well, they are identical, and I've just included the Galaxy mod onto the fact it's the Galaxy shape, but The Garret has a 5-3 weapons layout, 5 engineering, 2 science and 4 tactical. Well, it might be a bit, so it might be a bit more, bit stronger in some of the offensive department than the Thagan is, and a lot of people still like the Thagan for tanking. And the Garret can actually run dual cannons, unlike Thagan or the old Galaxy. Now, I will point out that there's all these ships actually have a unique console. We've got coordinated engagement solution for the Garret with inspiration abilities for both the Garret and the Thagan, and well, because it's a inspiration abilities do not exist when the Galaxy came out. It doesn't happen. And the Garret's got a cloak, which some of the original builds didn't cover at all because the cloak was hidden from everyone, including the players. So, and the Garret and the Thagan's got different traits as well. But yeah. And before you go ask, what the Garret is using looks is based on the Galaxy design, does not actually can use the source of separation console. You've got to be using certain Galaxy ships to get the source of separation console working at real slot. So, initial thoughts. The commander engineering command is pretty decent for tanking, and the anchor bay is pretty nice. Many of other players of Star Trek Online YouTubers have considered favourable to the 2022 Thagan Command Cruiser, and has the same bridge officer seating. The Thagan is considered one of the better ships around for tanking, basically due to the bridge officer seating. This means that most Thagan builds are pretty much a take what you can, take much the stuff you can, and you have to and the gear might take a little while to get settled in to get it going. The Lieutenant Commander Universal introduced enough room for several options, and well, I really do need to explain that tempo mechanics works, but that's not for this video. Thoughts on the build, or things that I like to be aware of. So, as a tank, I'm actually leaning towards anti-proton that ship came with, as well as it easy transition to the barrel linked sentry weapon set from the lobby store. As it generates a lot of threat due to the way that the barrel linked sentry weapon set bounces any anti-proton weapon, as far as I can tell. At least the base anti-proton weapons. Due to the two mission rewards, for which the Corporal Early Engineering Command Officer and the Electric Engineering Temporal Operative Officer, actually could be used in some of these slots. And the 10 Commander Universal, which allows for Photonic Officer or Octobat builds to become somewhat viable, although there have been a lot of other builds considered. This ship, despite being able to equip dual cannons, probably would be better to do as a 5 at will or 4 beam boat. And usually when I do these ideas, I come up with what I like to call a shopping list of things I go out my way to buy or obtain pretty quickly. So I start with the 3-piece solid Tilly's Salmet Disco engine setup, avoiding the inputs engine, purely because I want to be grabbing one of the competitive inputs engines. Yeah, as I said, this is the reason why I can't say Metropolis. There's also the anti-proton weapons and tactical consoles that worth grabbing as well, because you don't get any tactical consoles on the anti-proton weapons, and you might need to add and replace stuff as well. And there's plenty of anti-proton weapons in the game. There's an Asian this technology 2-piece set. Well, and I will point out right now, what current the build will be replaced, but I didn't realize I had these there. The 360 beam could be in paid considerations due to the low B 360 beam will slot in its place. It's more down to I can't find this. They kept both. I can't have the obelisk down technology beam and the lobby and the barrel beam in the same ship. We can level up beams down D skill to level 15, which is going to take a while, but that's why I mark it as part of my shopping list, because you want to get started on it as soon as you can. So, a budget build. Well, we're going to get to building a ship, periodically this time. So, day 20 and you've just got the ship. So, bridge officers, yeah, we got, and I'm going to put these up as what's each of these pages is going to be covered in, for going to be covered what you're going to be getting, what's in various stuff. I will point out that these are going to be in a somewhat understandable pattern when you try and build them in the game. The order of the bridge officer seating is pretty much where you see them in the on the bridge officer tab, and each of the powers are basic for each bridge officer will be effectively in that coming in that order. So transversal shot will always be in the leftmost one, polarized hull being the second slot, and photonic officer will be in the third slot. And there's no fourth slot in this case, but there is in case some other stuff. I will point out that I've also, because these are, it's where I've got, because the universal consoles universal bridge officer seatings will allow you to put science officer, tactical officer, or a engineering officer in that slot seat. I'm marking universal or unit brackets side, or just so you can understand what they actually are. So yes, I said we started off with the universals seating being held by a science officer. We may have temporal, but that won't matter till later. So that he has transfer shield strength 1, polarized hull 2, and photonic officer 2, and these will usually affect my personal preferences of better hull heals than shield heals. And as for photonic officer, I've decided to use that as because its primary purpose is to decrease the weight between you're activating pauses between each time so you get more so you can fire off your abilities more often than you need to, than you don't uh, than others. But yeah, then there is then for my second universal, which is going to be a tactical officer. I've just decided to drop in my usual standby of the tactical team 1. On the actual tactical seat, which is top spread 1, fire will 2, and attack pattern beta. Now I'm deliberately attack pattern beta is not a standard acronym. I've decided to make it a little bit easier for anyone who's actually wondering what the heck I'm talking about. Well, 4.2 is very, very common within the Star Trek Online fandom area. But yes, but yeah, this is somewhat of a semi-standard day 20 build for what you can do without it. But I always recommend swapping for fire at will and attack pattern beta if you have fire at will free. As for the engineering seat, the immature powder shields is usually actually considered. I usually consider for this slot more down to you probably do not have you probably learn how to fly the ship at this point, and you probably won't. But a lot of players will recommend switching that to immature powder 2 engines, purely because you're going to be flying. If you in some group content, you're going to be the last one there. As for the second slot, immense power to weapons, well, you always want a lot of weapon power, especially when you're going to be firing at least 8 weapons at some cases. And well, as for the other engineering slots, I've got extra structural, which is pretty much a hull heel, which is all fit in that slot. I don't know what else to really do that without actually. That doesn't hurt some other builds coming up. And then there's 80 ton beam 2, which I've maxed for a stack because actually this is a filler slot. I know what I want to put in this slot, and this is basically if you have something different in this slot. Well, you might want to play around with it there, because I'd actually have trouble with it's more of a down to the fact that most engineering abilities, there's only 2 engineering abilities with that you can slot in that second slot, and if you want to take bits from the day of the specialization builds, you can always drop it in there. And as for the science, I've decided to use my standard science heals, which is basically science team 1 for the shields, and hazard emitters 2 for the hull heal cleanse. As for and now we're moving on to the weapons and / hangar bay, and this is a bit of a weird one, but I've decided to just because how it works. It's a lot easier to sort this out by pulling all this from various places and then try and squeeze it in with on the next 2 pages where it would fit normally on if you were going down the side. So you got your forward weapons are going to be. I'm just going to pick 4 anti-proton beam rays and a random photon torpedo. Well, if you've got quantum or whatever, you can go equip it. Heck, I don't mind if you have the green cluster torpedo if you want. This is I won't recommend the green cluster torpedo in the front. That's me. As for the after, I recommend grabbing the ancient omnidirectional anti-proton beam array for the back, and just a random another anti-proton beam array for the rear, and a photo torpedo as well. Because this ship doesn't have a experimental slot, I've got to mark this NA as NA. Yeah, you're going to see NAs whenever there's, well, the ship doesn't have this type of slot, and so you'll probably see it. So this may come up again, but it won't come up this time too much. And then there's the Alliance fighter squadron for the Anchor Bay, which you covered with the ship anyway, so you got them there. So, well, continuing on for day 20, we're going to be covering the, well, deflectors and engines and the actual consoles. Now, I'm just basically going deflector inputs and shields are basically, I've just a bit weird, but essentially you've got access to good. You may be able to, because if you're been leveling up your discovery reputation by day 20, you may be able to obtain them already. So you basically, whatever you get for this one is going to be, it's going to be replaced in a couple of days anyway. So this is why I've delivered them at them as any, because if you just want to, you want to be flying it, you're going to be flying it just the last few minutes. And the Obelisk subspace rift warp car. Well, this is pretty much more of a boost anti-proton and arrow, and it does give you an option to delay certain things to get your discovery reputation stuff up a bit more. I mean, as for consoles, I've just got quite a few stuff from various stuff to help you, well, survive a lot. You won't be doing much damage, but well, we do include quite a bit of damage stuff, but I'm not going to. But anyway, this ship has a tier 6 with tier 6 with no U's or X's. Doesn't have a universal console, so doesn't apply this time. Out of the 5 engineering consoles, we're going to be grabbing the House Martok from the Trillium D and Reinforced Elements. These are going to be ones you're going to find during the storyline, so you're going to, and you may not just have an option. You may not have an option to avoid picking these up, so you will. So you can easily pick most of these up pretty quickly. And I've also decided to throw in 2 additional neutronium alloys. This is one option that I do. I can always recommend some other consoles which including EPS power regulators. So that's good. So we've got a U on the first one. That's it, the universal console, which means everything on here is actually comes from it. It can only be slotted in that particular console, so that's the universal console, and this is actually the ship's universal console, the quantity engagement solution, and well, and then there's to help us tank a bit better, we've just decided to include a emitter array. This is, and as for tactical, I'm decided to include the anti-proton mag regulator. Day 30. What have I've got my... What am I talking about there? Oh, that explains a lot. Yeah, to make it a lot easier, I've actually decided to highlight what I've actually decided to change. So there is only 2 big changes on this page. I've actually changed my engineering to engineering command to actually command suppression barrage 2 or 3. I've technically I would suggest going for 3 here, but do the rules allow me to slot in 2 here, but I don't recommend just slotting in 2 just so you can slot in 3 later, because it's due to the way suppression barrage 2 and 3 share the same slot. You do not want to use 2 whenever you get the chance. Every other bridge officer seat at this point will there's only one level of power that sits on in that slot, so that's the reason why you don't have any other freeze on here yet. As for the weapons, we've just really swapped the torpedo, and this is purely because the dark matter quantum torpedo launcher, well, it's actually a pretty decent one, and actually part of a two-piece set, which the second half will be in the tactical console slots. So, and well, as I said, you want to replace half the stuff whenever you can. So, well, deflector has been replaced with a non-binary matter deflector. The warp core has been replaced with the mycelial harmonic matter antimatter core, and the shields have been replaced with Tilly's review pending modified shields. These will all come from the Discovery reputation, and well, actually so far everything, actually most of the changes come from the Discovery reputation at this point. So yeah, that's the reason why I recommended going for the obelisk warp car. At least that you have because you're going to be probably going to take and you upgrade the warp car last, but technically because this is a theory build more than an actual practical build, well, that's one of the things it is, and there's not much changes within the mostly engineering with the engineering science consoles, but the big thing is I've removed one of my anti-proton mag regulators and shoved in Larker's custom fire controls for the Discovery reputation again. Yeah, a lot of work this time. Day 16, time to make this work, and now, well, we've got, whilst it looks like I've got temporary powers here, this is actually temporal, not temporary. So, temporal channel deconstruction, temporal rapid decay in the universal science seat, or universal science seat, as I've done in the past. And channel deconstruction and rapid decay basically will be able to build and consume the entropy mechanic, which adds and deletes the purple bars on certain enemies you'll see on the certain ships and stuff. And as for the engineering, I've basically added engineering team. Forgot to colour in the tactical team. So yeah, tactical officer, which basically I've swing attack pattern beta down and brought fire at will 3 up, mostly because fire at will 3 does a lot more damage than fire at will 2. Attack pattern beta's debuff it probably isn't as big as it could as some others are. But anyway, yeah, as engineering team is still a decent hull heal, and immense power to weapons free will allow you to keep your engines keep your weapons up, firing for longer. As there's no actual weapon changes, so yeah. And as I mentioned, science, yeah, everything else is the same. Now, as for there's only one big change here: impulse engines, prevailing innovative impulse engines. Now, I've got to mention that this comes with a competitive set, and there's basically 3 different sets of impulse engines, and you've got to pick the right. There's 3 different sets of stuff, and in this whole thing together, and the prevailing innovative impulse engines are probably the best lot for the builds, and that's big. Because we can have the tactical powers in this case. But anyway, that is day 60. This big change is done. Oh dear, it's not here. So we'll put some of the day 90s, what we would originally put in the day 90 builds, into all the paid considerations instead. Which is basically where the Fleet Colony tactical consoles will come into play, because Fleet Colony tactical consoles are going to be probably a decent option, because you're going to be tanking and you want to survive a little bit longer than doing a big pile of damage. But some people you can use spy consoles, the Fleet spy consoles as well. I've also considered going queues into my tactical matrix for a bit of fun, and could be useful, because you can not, whilst you can't keep fire at will up all the time, you can make fire at will run near full the time with smart use of the entire tactical matrices. Then there's a Menchi weapon cycle from I think Arbiter, and after another ships, because and I've also talked about the omnidirectional bow-linked Sentry anti-proton beam array and the bow-linked Sentry coordination matrix. I've talked about the bow-linked Sentry set before, and these are the 2 consoles two things I'd recommend picking up lobby stuff from it. It does actually cost a bit, so it's 200 lobby each before sales, but I just thought better include them. Also mention right now that since you're going to be tanking, you may want to consider History Remembers trait, and this comes from, ready? The Miranda, or the Voral, or the Legendary Ambassador. The Miranda is a tier 6 ambassador basically, and the Voral is a tier 6 Archer. And because the legendary versions of the ambassador and the Archer are pretty also available, I have to include them, and they will include the old builds, older stuff as well. But the big question people are going to be asking: is it worth getting? Yes. In my opinion, it's a free ship. You want to grab it as much as you can. The problem is, I think you're just about to run out of time, because the day this video goes live, you've just got enough time to do it. If you want to do some 20-hour, when to flip it around on 20-hour increments for a few days, usually towards the end. So yes, this has been Mike Writer. See you guys next time.